Before we can talk about the actual mechanism of photosynthesis, we need to talk a little bit about light. Light's really important because it provides the energy for photosynthesis. It provides the energy for our entire biosphere. We're not going to spend too much time on light, though, because we're here for biology, not for physics. But we do need to understand a little bit about it. So light is energy that travels in waves. Those waves are measured in something called a wavelength, which is simply the distance between the crests or the peaks in those waves. There's a broad range of light energy, and we are going to focus on visible light. So visible light are the wavelengths or the colors that can be seen with the human eye. These are also the wavelengths of energy that are absorbed by plants in the process of photosynthesis. If you look at that image there on the right, you can see the sort of rainbow or range of visible light. The purple, blue, some of the cooler, what we would call cooler colors, have shorter wavelengths. They also have higher energy. On the other end, the warmer wavelengths, the yellows, oranges, and reds, have the longer wavelengths and have lower energy. So the pigments in photosynthesis work to absorb as much of that range of visible light as possible in order to capture as much of that sunlight energy as possible. That energy is absorbed as photons. So a photon can sort of be thought of as a particle of light. It's not really a physical object because it's energy, but it sort of behaves like a physical object. It has a fixed amount of energy. That energy can be released. A photon can absorb energy. And so it's more useful to think of it as sort of a particle, to think of our chlorophyll molecule as absorbing this particle, this photon of light. But essentially what it is doing is absorbing the energy from the light. So light has a lot of really important properties. As I said, we're not going to talk too much about the light itself, but one of the important things about it is its behavior when it hits something. So light can be reflected, which means that it bounces off of something. It can be transmitted, which means the light moves through it. Or it can be absorbed, which means that you don't see it, basically. So different pigments absorb different wavelengths. The pigment that we are going to focus on is chloroplast. There are a couple of different types of chloroplast, and there are other pigments that are involved in photosynthesis, but we're going to focus on chloroplasts. The reason that we see plants as green is that the chloroplast reflects the green wavelengths. And so that means that the chloroplasts are not absorbing those green wavelengths of energy. The chloroplasts also, the green light can be transmitted through the chloroplasts because it's not being absorbed. So we see that reflected and transmitted green wavelengths when we look at our plants. All of the other colors, the rest of the visible spectrum, are absorbed, and that's why we don't see them when we look at a plant. So essentially, those colors outside of the green range disappear. We don't see them. So our two main pigments are chlorophyll and carotenoids. Chlorophyll is really the one that we are going to focus on. We've talked about it a few times throughout the semester. There are several different chlorophyll molecules, but we're going to talk about them as if they are one and the same. Chlorophyll A and B are the light capturing pigments. So they're the molecules that are absorbing those wavelengths of light in the visible spectrum. Carotenoids are important because they sort of broaden the spectrum of visible light. Chlorophyll A and B can't absorb all of the range of light, and so carotenoids sort of expand the range of energy that a plant can take in. Chlorophyll reflects or transmits the green color in the visible spectrum, and so that's why we see plants as green. Carotenoids actually reflect the orange, so they're not absorbing the orange or the red spectrum. So carotenoids, that's the main pigment in a carrot. That's why a carrot is so brightly colored. On the left there we have our chlorophyll pigment there, and the only difference between A and B is just one change in the little functional group. And you can see it has a hydrophobic tail, that's so that it can be stuck into the thylakoid membrane of those chloroplasts. Remember, our membranes are hydrophobic, and so that's important for anchoring it into our membranes within our chloroplasts. And then at the top of it, we have this special ring structure called a porphyrin ring. And that is just important because that's where our photon is going to hit, and that is the part, the region that is going to release an electron that has been excited with this energy. On the other side of the screen, we see the spectrum of visible light that the chlorophyll A, B, and carotenoids absorb. You can see that they absorb those, mostly those higher energy wavelengths, the 400 to 500 range. So that's the cooler colors, the purple, the blue, and then the absorption dies off as we get to the green and the yellow. And then for chlorophyll A and B, it peaks again over on the red spectrum. So in photosynthesis, chlorophyll is our important molecule. It is excited by light energy, and when a photon of light or a little pocket of light energy hits that chlorophyll molecule, energy from that photon is going to be transferred to an electron, and so that electron is going to absorb the energy and it's going to become excited. When it releases or loses that energy, it can lose it as heat, and it can also lose it as light energy. So this is something called fluorescence. That image there in the middle shows a flask full of fluorescing chloroplasts. So energy has been applied to the system, and the chlorophyll molecules have been excited, and so they're emitting this glow. On the right, we just have a molecule. I can turn it here. This is just showing the structure of the chlorophyll molecule, and it's that center there, that purple center. You can see that is where the electron is going to be excited. And remember, electrons carry energy, and so we're going to watch how this electron moves through this chloroplast in this photosynthesis mechanism in order to transfer its energy to glucose. All right, so we are going to look at photosynthesis. Now we're going to move into the mechanism. I will save that for the next video so that we can get the light reactions all in one.